Even when heaven feels silent, your faith is speaking louder than you think. What if silence isn't God ignoring you, but inviting you? Let's be honest, no one teaches us how to walk through the quiet. We hear about miracles, victories, open doors. But what about the days when heaven goes still and faith feels like a losing fight? That's the part nobody preaches. But it's where silent redemption begins. In a world obsessed with quick fixes, we forget that God often works in whispers. And that whisper, your choice to stay, to believe, to keep showing up, is louder than any sermon. That's where emotional healing happens, where spiritual awakening takes root. Faith isn't proven when everything makes sense. It's revealed when nothing does. And if you're in that place, you're not alone. This episode is for the ones still holding on when everything inside says, let go. It's for the hidden warriors, the silent rebuilders, the faithful in the shadows. Because maybe, just maybe, God's silence is the sound of something sacred being built in you. Let's talk about it. When God feels distant, faith becomes a whisper. Have you ever prayed and felt like your words just vanished into thin air? Like heaven was on mute and God was a million miles away? That's the quiet battlefield of the faithful. In the silence, doubt creeps in, but that's where silent redemption begins. Where real faith isn't loud or flashy, but a whisper that refuses to go quiet. Spiritual healing often starts where comfort ends. Faith doesn't always look like shouting in church or singing your heart out. Sometimes it's just getting out of bed, whispering a prayer while brushing your teeth, or keeping your Bible open even when you feel nothing. It's showing up, not because you feel strong, but because deep down, you still believe. Christian motivation lives in those small, hidden acts of resilience. This is the essence of emotional healing. It's when you stop chasing feelings and start choosing truth. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. Psalm 34:18. Even when he feels distant, he's working silently inside you. The healing journey doesn't scream. It listens. It waits. It trusts. And sometimes that whisper, it echoes louder in heaven than any shout ever could. Pain doesn't cancel your purpose. Pain has a way of making people forget who they are. It whispers lies like, you're disqualified, or you've missed your chance. But the truth is, pain doesn't cancel purpose. It reveals it. Every scar has a story, and sometimes the very thing that broke you is what God will use to build someone else. That's how faith and redemption walk hand in hand. Think about Joseph. Betrayed, abandoned, imprisoned, yet he became the vessel that saved a nation. What looked like delay was preparation. Your pain may not make sense right now, but it's preparing you for something bigger than you can see. This is the core of redemption stories. Real testimonies that rise from real suffering. There's purpose behind every tear. If you're walking through pain today, don't rush past it. Sit with it. Let it speak, but don't let it define you. Romans 8:28 reminds us, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him. Pain doesn't mean God left. It means he's allowing the pressure that creates diamonds. The silent transformation is happening, even if you can't feel it yet. What if silence is God's most powerful answer? What if God's silence isn't rejection, but refinement? We often expect thunderous responses, open doors, or immediate relief. But sometimes, His greatest answers come wrapped in stillness. It's in the silence that spiritual awakening often begins, not through noise, but through quiet trust. Silence doesn't mean absence. It means God is working where eyes can't see. Think about how Jesus stood silent before Pilate. No defense, no argument, just presence. That moment wasn't weakness. It was power under control. The same is true for us. When life grows quiet, when prayers feel unanswered, it might not be delay. It might be divine design. That's the kind of silent redemption that reshapes the soul from within. Isaiah 30:15 says, "In quietness and trust is your strength." Real strength isn't always loud. It's often invisible, rooted in stillness, anchored in faith. The most powerful answers are sometimes not spoken, but felt. And if you listen closely, you'll realize silence doesn't mean God is done. It might mean He's about to begin something that changes everything. You're still chosen, even in the shadows. Just because you're not seen doesn't mean you're not chosen. Some of the most powerful moments in the healing journey happen in places no one else can see. The shadows may feel lonely, but they're not a punishment. They're preparation. God often hides what He values most, protecting it while it grows. That's spiritual healing in its purest form. David was anointed king while still a shepherd, tucked away in fields no one cared about. But God saw him. God prepared him in private long before He positioned him in public. Maybe that's your season right now. Hidden, overlooked, misunderstood, but chosen, and that's enough. This is where the brainspotting of the soul begins, where healing touches what no spotlight ever could. Ephesians 1:4 reminds us, He chose us in Him before the creation of the world. Being chosen isn't a feeling, it's a truth. Even when your life feels like a series of missed opportunities or invisible moments, God's plan is still unfolding. And sometimes the shadows aren't a sign of abandonment. They're the stage God uses to build unshakable inner peace, faith that stands when nothing makes sense. There are seasons when everything falls apart and nothing adds up. The numbers don't work, the doors don't open, and the pain doesn't stop. That's when faith becomes more than a belief. It becomes a posture, a choice to stand when everything in you wants to collapse. Christian motivation isn't always pretty, but it's always powerful when rooted in truth. This is where the rubber meets the road. When people walk away, when prayers go unanswered, when you feel like a ghost in your own story, that's when faith grows legs. Think of Job, stripped of everything, yet he said, "Though he slay me, yet will I trust him." Job 13:15. This kind of trauma and faith creates unshakable roots, roots that hold in every storm. Silent transformation happens when you choose to believe anyway, not because it makes sense, but because something deeper inside you whispers, "Keep going." It's in this messy middle that faith and redemption rise from the ashes. And maybe, just maybe, that unexplainable stand you're taking is the very thing that's moving heaven on your behalf. So, now let me ask you something real. What have you been calling silence that might actually be sacred strategy? What if this hidden battle isn't a delay, but your preparation ground? You weren't forgotten. You were being formed. Maybe it's time to stop begging for noise and start listening to the quiet. Because silent transformation doesn't shout. It shapes. It strengthens. And if this spoke to you, If something in your soul stirred while listening, don't keep it inside. Comment below. I'm still standing. Let's build a space for honest faith, not perfect appearances. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so we can keep walking together through this healing journey. Your next breakthrough might just begin in the next episode.